Captain. While it is true that Protoss struggles at the very highest level, meaning the top 30 or so people across the whole world, you cannot deny that at any level lower than that, Protoss is easy peasy. It's so brain dead to play that with mediocre skill, you can get to Grandmaster with it. And I will demonstrate that to you today. This game I play versus a Protoss who is about 600 MMR higher than me, almost 5k. Naturally, I was nervous and made some early errors. At first he thought he could troll me by killing me with mass adapt, but he underestimated me. We proceeded to have a very long macro game where I dominated him at every turn. For someone barely in Masters 3, I think you would be impressed how much of a fight I put up against this Grandmaster. I was expanding, upgrading, multitasking and microing, completely outplaying him. But it didn't matter. His ridiculous, poorly upgraded A-move army of carriers, colossi and other nonsense was simply unengageable. The only game-changing mistake I made was producing trash lips instead of Chad Vikings. But even so, that should have been more than enough to close the game out against his pitiful economy. Please, Captain, I'm genuinely confused and tilted beyond belief. How did I not severely outplay my opponent? Do I just suck? Signed, iVanilla, a Terran player on the European server that is 4.3k MMR in the Masters League. And the question is simple. Is Protoss imbalanced? Or does iVanilla suck? And we're here to find out. Alright, here we go. TC Ultimate, that's a player who I definitely do know, versus iVanilla. TC Ultimate is a Protoss that I often play on the ladder with my off-race as well, so fairly familiar with this fella, you could definitely say. And he opens by scouting around, just making sure he isn't being proxied, and seems to be going for, what is this, 21? Okay, 21 Cybercore, a Chrono Boost. Wait, what? And then a Nexus at 22? I have never seen this before. This is a completely unique build order here out of 23 Nexus. I think he forgot about this, the next pylon, or he's just gonna get supply blocked here, no? Pretty significantly as well, may I say, but we're not here to look at our Protoss player, we're here to look at the Terran, and our Terran is opening up with a Reactor First. Now, Reactor First is kind of a beautiful build order opener here. Ooh, single dude in gas here while you're being scouted. Not a huge fan of this. So if you're wondering why I'm not a fan of showing this to a Protoss player that obviously has a brain, which TC Ultimate does, is because the moment you see something like this, the possibility of this being a factory opener is practically zero. And even if it is a factory opener, that factory is going to start so extremely late that it wouldn't really be much of a threat. Either your blink would be done or your phoenixes will be there, or whatever it is you're building is going to be in time. So right now, as a Protoss player, you know, it's either going to be a 3 Rex or it's going to be a triple CC. These are the only two realistic options after seeing Reactor First into someone pulling out of gas. So you're already giving way too much information away for free. And you should never give away anything for free in StarCraft 2 if you can, you know, sell it more expensively. Also in real life, of course. Never give away something for free that you can sell. It's a good word. That's why I always sell my my second-hand products as well on things like eBay. Although, in a way, you're kind of selling your time for free to those websites as well, you know? No one ever shows up in time. Who are the people? I always wonder this. Who are the people that agree to a price online and then when showing up to your house, decide that they try and knock off another 2.5 or 5 euros of the price? This has happened multiple times. I'll be selling a lamp or a chair, you know, and I'm already selling it for too little. You know, this was a fine chair. I've used it a lot, but I took good care of my chair as well, and I'm selling it for 10 bucks. We agreed to the price of 10 bucks online over, you know, the Dutch version of eBay. You show up to my house and then you try to pay 7.50. The problem with me is that I can't go through the hassle of saying no and then finding another buyer. So I always go like, yeah, whatever, 7.50. I don't really care enough. I just don't want to, you know, bring it to the trash myself. But people that do that are honestly evil. And if I ever become, you know, president or an authority figure anywhere, these people would be thrown into jail for an indefinite amount of time. But this is completely unrelated to this game. What is related to this game is the fact that there's no react here. This is a non-build order as well. What in the world is this? 13 Marines, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And this is world's worst 3-Rex opener. Combat shield's gonna finish too fast. Stim is going to finish too late. This push is hitting way too late. We're kind of in between a 3-Rex with medevacs and a 3-Rex without medevacs. I feel like you want to hit still before medevacs with this army, but you don't really have a lot of Marines. So for a little bit of context here, the current time reads 5:01. We have 17 Marines out. Now, usually at this exact timing, you would be across the map with about 18 Marines, stim and combat shield done, and you'd be fighting at this point. That is a standard 3-Rex build order. Another build order you could be going for is for something like medevacs from a 3-Rex. It's not so popular because, well, it kind of sucks. But in that case, you do want to get a faster eBay as well. So you're kind of in between two okay build orders, and you mix them together and got something terrible. And that is often the case with build orders. Build orders are a lot like food, a lot like recipes in a way, you know? You have two delicious things, but you mix these two together, it doesn't necessarily create something better. Like if you have a mango salad and let's say a pasta carbonara, if you mix the two, you're not going to get a better recipe or a better dish. Most of the time you actually get a worse dish that kind of takes away the strength of each dish. Now, despite your early game failures, you still get some damage here. Decent damage, you could even say. You managed to cancel this third base, which is fairly frustrating for the Protoss. And I think the reason why this happened is because the Protoss didn't believe you're still going to hit with a 3-Rex. So he probably made the read that you were going for a triple CC. I mean, this scout now confirms that that's not the case. Although at the end, I'm not even sure if this is good for you. 86 supply to 67. No, I actually think it's really bad for the Terran. So yeah, you made a crappy dish and the Protoss punished you for making a crappy dish. Protoss cosplaying Gordon Ramsay right now, calling you an idiot sandwich. And decides to move across the map as well. Is there a forge yet? This Protoss build also doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I feel like you can just actually shade on top of this army and win the game at this point, no? Stos? Is there really anything here? I think you just finished this and the game is over. Congratulations. Like, it's 15 adepts with glaives against 9 Marines and 6 Marauders. There's no upgrades on this either. Like, they're stim, but that's it. Double eBays just get cancelled. Also an interesting move. And then rebuild in the back. Now, I want to get the logic of this explained to me. So let's just sketch the scenarios. Like, why would this be better to be in the back than in the front? So the one reason why you wouldn't want them in the front is because they could potentially die against the glaive adepts. Now, the only way that glaive adepts could be killing the eBays in front is if the glaive adepts are stronger than your bio army. If the glaive adepts are stronger than your bio army, you rather have the glaive adepts attack the eBays than your main army. And thus leaving the eBays in front is the correct call. If the adepts go back home, you also rather have the eBays in front because they provide a wall for later on, and also you already started them, so it's more, you know, efficient with your money. Now you cancel it, lose 25%, and you have to rebuild them in the back. Also, the building time you already did over here pretty much gets undone. So no matter what scenario I imagine here, the eBays in front are better than canceling them and putting them back in the back. But then again, I'm only a brain-dead Protoss player who's where he is because of his superior race. So what do I know about this game? Ooh, this is not a good fight here for TOS. Yeah, that should have been a recall probably a little while ago, and now, yeah, this is too late, mate. Yeah, good trade for the Terran. Protoss still pretty far up in workers. Is transitioning into Stargate Colossus. I have absolutely no clue what this build is. I just don't quite understand this. I've never seen this particular build order out of a TOS. was it like 6 gate Glaive Adept without a forge into double Stargate, double Robo, Colossi, Phoenix, no upgrades. This is a really, really bad build order in my opinion, because you're investing a lot in infrastructure that doesn't provide a whole lot for you anymore. The main strength of the Phoenix is in the early game where it can harass, and it can deal with Terran harass quite easily. So it feels like you're now investing in a unit as a Protoss player that doesn't really do anything anymore for you. So yeah, the Terran definitely is getting ahead further and further, or at least getting back into the game. Because let's face it, he's still down 30 workers. How that is possible, I'm still not entirely sure. I mean, 7 SCVs did get killed. But 3 workers got killed on the other side as well. So this must have been some very mediocre worker production, as we see no workers being produced at this point as well. I haven't been paying attention to it, but I assume that in the past 9 minutes, there have been a couple of, you know, holes in the constant SCV production that there should be, or the near constant SCV production. Armory is being constructed, so the focus on upgrades here is correct. Oversaturation in the main sucks, obviously. Now we have worker production going on, but in my mind, if TC Ultimate here was playing any build that resembled a real build, this game would be over, just purely based on the worker production. Like, StarCraft 2 is a game where being bad at one skill can be quite detrimental for you in the game. And the thing about being a good player is that you're at least decent at every single of the important skills. You know, you know how to fight. You have a little bit of map vision at least. You know, you know correct decision making. You know how to craft an army as well, but also just general macro. So building buildings, when to build them, how to build them, and of course constant SCV production. This also includes not getting supply blocks, so you have to build 5 depots at the same time. It is... What? Vehicle plating here. Okay. Interesting. I've never seen this as the first upgrade in a Terran versus Protoss, but it is happening here. As these units are now trying to get in here, wanting to deal a little bit of damage. We get a good split out of TC Ultimate though. Sending his units towards the bottom while also keeping an army over here. Mine gets taken out. A little bit of a move command out of Vanilla, or Ivan Illa, whichever way you want to pronounce it. No battery here. This actually could be a fight that you might want to take, no? With this Marauder count? I think so. Might be something you wanted to take. Oh well. Don't mind waiting for 2-2 either. Ghost Academy should be thrown down at any point. Fort base probably should be on the way. Yeah, we're still on a very low worker count and a very late fort base, so not a huge fan of those things. Ivanilla did do a very good job here denying all vision on the map. So if you take a look here at TC Ultimate's vision, he hardly knows what's kicking off here. Still gonna send this Disruptor forward. Oop. Poof. Could have lifted up, but didn't. That's life, I guess. Disruptor is going to fall down. Do you really want to engage this? No, I don't think you do. Still have this army as well trying to run forward, but there's nothing really happening in the game. Like, you often need a distraction or some type of rotation. You can't just do the same trick 5 times in a row against a Grandmaster player and expect it to work 5 times in a row. And this time he's actually going to get cleaned up as a result. Like, well, this is working a lot better than it should have, but still good cleanup here for TC Ultimate. This is something that I see a lot, is where lower level players will just kind of keep headbutting the same situations over and over, being surprised that it doesn't work. And as I say that, headbutting the same situation actually does start to work, so maybe I should just kept my mouth shut until I saw what would have happened with this drop. Although this drop is going to get cleaned up. No, there's still 9 Phoenixes out. Marine count isn't going to be sufficient. I'm really surprised by the complete lack of upgrades here out of TC Ultimate. I'm not sure if he maybe has his own YouTube channel where he's doing challenges where he tries to not get any upgrades and win games. That is a distinct possibility. But I'm actually not sure. Well, he's getting +1 now, so this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Even if he were to have a YouTube channel where he did his own version of beating Grandmaster with stupid stuff, this isn't quite it. DTs, 6 DTs being warped in as well. For the first time, eco is somewhat even. I'm still surprised that we basically have the same worker count as we did for the past 4 minutes now. Or at least kind of close in the worker count. 8 barracks are up. Our 5th base is going to be sent out here. At least SCV is being sent out to be built. Still no ghost here. And yeah, this is This is what I like to call an auto-queue Terran, okay? This is a Terran that has a piece of paper next to his monitor, maybe on the wall, maybe it's in a notebook that's standing up against one of the glasses of milk that he consumes on a daily basis. And these big jugs of milk, you know, it brings the entire jug upstairs, or downstairs, I guess, because most of them live in the basement. And on that piece of paper, what does it say? It says his initial build order, 3 Rex, build Marines, move across the map, and then Marine Marauder medevac, you know? And no matter what the situation is, they will always go Marine Marauder medevac. Basically, till the end of time. And they don't really entirely know how to micro it yet, but they just try their best, you know? And it just reminds me of like a news reader that will read from the auto queue no matter what it says. Even if it says, do not read this before, you know, he'll just read out the do not read this out loud as well. And it feels very similar here with this Terran. Like there's no... Like, let's just take a look here at the actual army compositions, okay? We have 11 Phoenixes, 3 Colossi. Now, you could say this requires a response out of the Terran, maybe in the form of Vikings, maybe in the form of Liberators. Perhaps, yeah. Then there is a significant Archon force. There's a lot of Immortals, and both of these units, and also just Zealots in general, are usually well countered by having EMPs. So we're already missing like 2 major unit counters in this composition from the Terran that just haven't been built. He's just really spamming one comp, and it's a low-cost comp that usually trades quite okay, but once you get closer to maxing out and you have these more sophisticated armies from the Protoss player, you really do need to mix something else in. So we have the Protoss actually going into a fleet beacon and a second Stargate here. Third Stargate, of course. He already had 2 Stargates. Let's not forget about... Right? Well, he must have lost one. Yeah, I did lose one. Nice. So he's rebuilding a second Stargate. DTs are putting in some work as well. Disruptors going hard. Now, this is actually a terrible timing to engage on top of that, because 3-3 isn't quite done yet. So we're fighting 2-2 versus 1-1 with a Protoss army that, well, probably before this fight was also 2, 3, maybe even 4k higher in gas when it comes to the army value. So I'm just not a huge fan of how iVanilla is playing this currently. I am a fan of this, though. This is a really, really good move. Also scanning and figuring this out, saying, hey, this is an army that I can't fight. This army is way too large. It is way too complex. Why don't I just go for a base trade? And I think that is the completely correct call here. Keeps a significant portion of his army at home to try and defend or delay the other army. And then with these bad boys, just goes for kills on outside bases. So if he ever ends up cleaning this up, eco is actually going to be favorable here for iVanilla, which I really, really like. I think this was a good call. Or did we just do a scan? Okay, put a scan on top of this army. Now, another thing you can do is you can come back with this army and kind of use it as a flank in general. Okay, there goes a first hit on that disruptor, goes down. These disruptors are all going down as well. So 3 disruptors fall for free. Well, not quite for free. So 2 marauders do end up falling. More marauders going down. Perhaps don't chase if you don't know how to micro. Still not a single EMP has been used. Not a single ghost has been built. And now we're going into the Liberator. So the Liberator usually is a unit when the Terran is being pushed back and you want something defensively and eventually perhaps to attack across the map with. You get your advanced ballistics, you get your +2 ship weapons. You send a drop out and then boom, quickly go across the map with 10, 12 Liberators, take a position and you'll never ever lose a fight in a million years. It's simply impossible. The Liberator is too strong. It's the highest damage output unit in the entire game, the highest DPS out of any unit. And fighting into a sieged up Liberator is practically impossible if there's more than 4 and they have +2. It really is extremely, extremely difficult. TC Ultimate, however, is going to try. Still on 72 workers somehow, but he's mining less because he only has, well, 1 mining base here, 5 patches over here, 4 patches over here. He's retaking this bad boy as well. And actually he's getting up his own upgrades. Does not have any air upgrades, but to be honest, the Terran also doesn't have brilliant air upgrades. 1-1 right now, +1 on ship weapons and +1 on vehicle plating. On top of that, there's not a single Viking, despite there still being 4 Colossi and 5 Phoenixes, and now carriers also being produced. So really feels like, honestly, just any type of tech would have been great. Liberators are okay. I don't even mind it, but not having Ghost is... I just can't understand that. The Ghost is by far the best unit that the Terran has against Protoss, right? Good lord, this was a move and a half. Okay, this was crazy. The only unit in his army that could fight this army, and he just sends them in by themselves. This was 8 Liberators that just moved forward. If these Phoenixes and Carriers had just targeted it down in combination with that one Archon, this game would have been over right now, okay? That move was crazy. Once again, he just goes for it. Needs to be so careful. Can just unsiege everything at the same time. You just leapfrog it forward. Why are all your units so far back as well? Like, Disruptors have a long range, but this really is pushing it, my friend. Like, these units are just by themselves. Phoenixes could just go and deal with it. Like, everything is so far back. Now, finally, we get some defense of these Liberators. We do get another split off, which, once again, is absolutely the correct call over here. Doing these split offs is really smart against these kind of clumpy Protoss armies. Now, yeah, a brilliant thing that you do need to do is attack a base further away and not going for some type of flank here. I think that would indeed be the correct call. I'm not quite sure what this army is doing, but it's a decent chance it is going to end up dying. 163 supply to 197. Now we get a big move forward. Liberators sieging up on top of this arm. No. Move commanding away from this army. Now taking out one Colossi and focusing down Interceptors. Okay, now we get the siege up, but the army isn't really here on the ground anymore, I guess. So we unsiege again and start fighting Phoenixes and then lose every single Liberator. But despite the weird moves of the Liberators, this still was a very successful engagement, right? Like 171 supply against 130. TOS is down in the resources lost by a significant portion. TOS hardly has any bases. Now trying to get this bottom base, this 6 o'clock, to do something. Gas needs to be saturated here for Terran, because that's the one resource he really is lacking. And continues Lib production rather than going for Vikings, still continuing with the Liberators. Now, do I mind this? Yeah, actually. Yeah, no, I completely mind this. If there's any amount of Vikings here, I think the game pretty much ends in favor of the Terran. And the reason for that is because there's no ground anti-air. All anti-air comes from air units themselves. And Vikings deal really well with air units, whether that's Phoenixes or Carriers. They do tend to suck a little bit against things like Stalkers and Storms or Archons, but a lot of that can also just be stopped by EMPing. Still, not a single Ghost has been built, and thus not a single Ghost has died. Do we even have a Ghost Academy at this point? No, we don't. Most important structure for the Terran, of course, isn't here, because why in the world would you build a freaking Ghost Academy if you can just continuously spam Marauders and Marines? Isn't that way more fun? Oh, that one's invisible. Actually get a recall on the mothership. That's kind of cute and cool, but also pretty risky, honestly. I feel like you can fight this, no? Just A-move into it? Like, there's nothing here. This is 3 Carriers, or sorry, 3 Colossi to fight ground. Like, Marines are really good against Carriers, and Marauders completely destroy everything on the ground here. I don't quite understand what we're so afraid of. This is also the peak of your army right now. You know, like, you're maxed. Your opponent isn't maxed, and you're maxed. Now you want to trade. You're outmining your opponent. Why would you want your opponent to be capable of maxing out? I appreciate this run by once more, but I actually think a straight up trade right now, or would just, first of all, I think you would win the fight. Even if you weren't to necessarily straight up win a fight, you probably get close to an even trade, because that's what you've been doing so far in this game. You've been trading better than your opponent. You're mining more, you have more resources in the bank, and you have more supply. This is legit. Like, if this is where decision making really comes in, right? If you know what to do, you're fighting. You're fighting a minute ago. You're fighting a minute and a half ago probably already, because you're not going to get better than this. Throwing down triple command centers, this is nice, and it's definitely preparing you for a longer game, but I think trading here just makes so much sense. Vehicle playing level 2 makes very little sense, and that is something that you are doing, so incorrect calls here. I do like this move. Good Liberator harass. As every single Phoenix just got taken out, or majority of the Phoenixes just got taken out over here. Army comes back. How many carriers do we have? We have 6 without any upgrades. Don't forget that. So I just don't quite understand why we aren't fighting. Why aren't we fighting? Hello? Can we... And Another thing that pisses me off here is that I'm afraid that the Terran is going to be running away from this army until he goes back to his own base. And the thing that often happens is that what Protoss wants right now is they want to fight on the Terran side. They want to win one fight and then camp your production so you can't accumulate a second army. So they're basically saying, hey, whatever you have in the bank as a Terran at this point, I want to make useless. And the way of doing that is by attacking nearby the Terran main base and then camping the production. Because yes, it's nice if a Terran has 4, 5, 6k resources in the bank. If you're killing them as they come out, it's not that useful. And if you start killing the production, then they need to start building barracks here. That never really works. So as a Terran, there's like literally every incentive right now. There's so many incentives just waiting for you to pick them up. It's like a daily freemium game, you know? You have like 5 chests that you can open up for free, my friend. You don't have to buy any new diamonds anymore. You know, this is it. This is your time to shine. This is what you've been grinding for. You know, it's all free until you have to buy more diamonds. But you're just letting them sit there. And that's a mistake. That actually is a mistake. Protoss is getting a bigger army here. Protoss could also wisen up and get some air weapon upgrades, but that's not quite what is happening here. 3 more orbitals. Could start maybe sacrificing some SCVs to grow a bigger army. Maybe add a couple of production structures as well. So rather than having just 8 barracks, go up to 11 or 12. Rather than just having 2 starports, go up to 3. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. Wait, what? No. No. No, this is not good, is it? Is it? This feels incorrect. But you're gonna be taking out your opponent's production. You're gonna be fighting on your opponent's side as far as possible. Maybe it's not so bad. Siege up in a position. Oh, recall! Hello? Set them up, set them up. Set them up. Or don't. Fight. This is a good fight. Produce. Now we produce. Wasn't a brilliant fight. I'm not sure what this Liberator is looking for. He's waiting for one of these fish to pop out. Shoot it. This guy's a hunter. It doesn't like aggression against the... against the aliens. Doesn't mind shooting a fish. I think there's some fish in here now. Sometimes you see one jump out. If you wait long enough, I swear. You can try this by yourself. Just go in the map and wait for the fish to jump out. Take a screenshot of it when it happens. And send it to me. I'm very curious. I'm looking forward to some fish screenshots here. Okay, now we see the production start again. 4 medevacs at a time. Okay. Some marines are being sent out as well. The orbital count is at 8. Which means that vision should be good. You see this army? See this army? No. Loses all the marines for free. SCVs being sent over. So you know where your opponent's army is right now. And I think you need to kind of make a realization at this point. It's like, okay, I don't think I can fight this army straight up if I don't have the perfect army comp. So you can try and go around, maybe kill the side bases or have a double drop into the main base and your main army positioned over here. So when there is a major recall, you know, boom, you start attacking these bases with your main army. But none of that is happening right now. Instead, we're just sitting at home waiting for the Protoss to kind of move across the map. Protoss, yeah. Very nice. 25 minutes and 30 seconds into the game, we get the air weapons level 1. Woo! Very nice. I mean, we only have 6 carriers, 7 phoenixes, and 1 mothership. That is beautiful. Mothership still chilling here as well. Actually with some energy to recall too, which is cute. Or to put a time warp, not to recall. Or could also recall. Has the energy for anything. Because there hasn't been a single ghost yet on the map, of course. Okay, here we go. Sees this army, knows exactly where it is. So either you're setting up the perfect fight or you're going for a base trade. Or you stim your entire army, which only has 6 medevacs, and take out these rocks at very high speed. That is also cool, isn't it? Okay, another scan forward. I am so curious how iVanilla wants to fight this. Okay, scans the army. Does he want to fight this? I don't think he's sure himself. Okay, now he does. Now he doesn't. Now he does. No, he doesn't. He's moving back, so Ooh, siege is up in the wrong side. Very cool. We'll lose every single liberator before anything happens here. Disruptor shots are empty, but losing those libs is actually kind of bad. He's just moving back and forth. Now the time warp actually gets cast. We're seeing a time warp here. Manor Mule? Sorry? Hello? This is not the time to type. So this was the game-deciding fight. Politeness can wait till after the fight, my friend. You're running the 100 meters in the Olympics. And you look angry at Bolt. You don't apologize during the race. You do it after you got the gold, my friend. This was a very weird... Once again, just fighting without the lips. Maybe he doesn't want the lips to shoot. Doesn't want Protoss players to know how good they really are. I don't quite understand it. Like over here, he felt like a guy that bought a ticket to go bungee jumping. And then just looked over the edge. I was like, nah, that's too high. And then he was like, well, I paid 150 euros. And looks over the edge again. It's like, nah, that's too high. Until eventually someone pushes him down. But his leg gets stuck in the rope and he gets split apart. Which, let's face it, isn't entirely ideal when it comes to the bungee jumping. It wasn't entirely ideal either when it comes to taking a fight against this Protoss army. And now all of a sudden Protoss is on your side of the map. And exactly what I said would happen is going to happen. You don't have enough time to actually remax. Don't continuously engage into this army either, though. You want to actually get your army back up. Why would you not wait until your next production wave? You had so much time left. Protoss still needs to walk up this ramp. Protoss... Oh, he actually did build extra starboard and extra barracks. That's nice. But you can just wait for production waves. He's just sending in half an army after half an army after half an army. And half armies this Protoss can deal with, but... Oh my god, you can't actually be serious. GG. There was the ability to base trade still at any point as well. He could have literally just walked around and tried at least. Could have sent liberators to siege at individual bases. Like every fight that he took felt pretty poor. And the only reason he won any fights was because of his superior upgrades. Ends up actually with resources lost higher than his opponent, which is kind of sad because at the start that wasn't the case. And he played his entire game without Ghost. Like, according to a lot of people, and according to me, I think the Ghost is probably the best unit in the entire game. If you don't decide to build the best unit in the entire game, especially against Protoss, right? Every Protoss unit has shields, and also Ghosts are just kind of tanky. They have a lot of auto attack damage as well. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't build them. They're not difficult to use either. Like, you click anywhere on the screen and the shields just disappear. You know, the radius of the EMP is so ridiculously large. It is harder to miss than it is to hit. And then on top of that, it feels like you just make incorrect decision, like indecisiveness here in the middle of nowhere. Like, this has very little to do with the ease of Protoss. I actually think in the first 8 minutes, the Protoss completely destroyed you. Pure worker production, build order wise as well, despite his build order being wonky. At least his build order was a decisive build order. You kind of played a middle of the road build order in between a 3 racks without starport and a 3 racks with a quick starport. You hit way too late with your initial push, which dealt damage. Like, it felt like the entire game is just you trying to go bungee jumping but being too afraid to jump. There were so many times where you could have taken fights and then you waited and waited until the fight wasn't good anymore and then you were forced to take it because the TOS started moving across the map. Like, my friend, make up your mind at some point. Going grocery shopping with you must be a blast. Like, do I want the tomatoes now? I'm not sure. Like, it takes like 5 hours for you and then you walk out with nothing. Hey, this is terrible. Hey, this is nothing to do with Protoss imbalance. Like, the Protoss, don't get me wrong, I think the Protoss actually did play very poor and in certain ways you were better, but when it mattered, your decisions and your army compositions were completely off. And in that case, you just don't deserve to win. Some things were good, but too many things were very, very bad. I'm sorry, my friend. You suck. And that's life. All right. That is going to be it for me today. If you did enjoy this episode of Is It IMBA or Do I Suck, be sure to check out all the others that I've done in the past. They'll be somewhere over here, wherever we decide to put them. And I'll see all of you next time. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and adieu.